Change my. Um, okay. Okay, we're live. Welcome to the Middle East edition of Gerety Talks, a long haul tradition series hosted by Gerety Awards. And this series brings exclusive insights to you from jury members. For the 2024 edition, I'm Pavneet Kaur, Senior Editor of Communicate Magazine, and I'm so excited to highlight the voices from Middle East. I'm honored to sit down with Mary Claire Malouf, Chief Creative Officer at Edelman, Rita Harvey, Senior Creative Director of Global Emerging Markets at Saatchi and Saatchi, and Marwa Kapoor, Group Head of Marketing and Communication, and also best-selling author and Chief Marketing Officer at Al Masood Group. Welcome, ladies.
Hello. Thank you. Hello.
I want to start off by asking you, open floor, just to break the ice a little bit. You guys must have been on a lot of judging panels across various platforms, but in your personal and professional opinion, what makes Gerety Awards so special for each of you? I want to start off by asking Mary Claire.
Okay. We all know that Gerety Awards is an all-female jury, and there's that uniqueness of having all-female jury, like jurors that are all from the same background in one room. Is super interesting. But I also see it as a social experiment. Like, whereabouts, how about we see what happens when we put all of these women together in one room, sharing their perspective, and then compare it with other juries, for example. And then what we realize every year is the outcome is almost similar to all the international shows, which tells you that a female unique jury doesn't have necessarily a female skewed way of judging the work. So a good idea is a good idea. Good work is a good work, regardless of gender, age, ethnicity, any background. So and I love that, and I love to keep pushing forward. Maybe the process that when you are women in one room discussing idea, have more insights that could be coming from our shared background as a woman. But as professionals, I think it's proving even more that I mean, professionals are professionals, right? And good work is good work. That's my view.
Yeah. And Rita, what about you? What makes the Gerety Awards so special to you?
I mean, as Marie Claire mentioned, it would be interesting also as a social experiment. Like, what if there was an all-male jury? What would the differences be? So there, we could really understand what are the unique angles that an all-female jury would provide. And something that's interesting, something that one of the jurors raised when we were in the room, is usually women are harsher on female equality campaigns because they don't have the pressure that men have of I need to sound like I'm really supporting women no matter what. Women can be more honest about it. They could say this does not speak to me. So I think when it comes to judging campaigns that push for female equality, I do think that having a female perspective would skew the angle a bit. But otherwise, I totally stand by what Marie Claire mentioned about, at the end of the day, we're professionals and we know what works best and what speaks to the markets best because it's our job, regardless of gender, regardless of, of course, background is very influential, but that's true for any human. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Gerety judging process because I also got to connect to female leaders in the region that I otherwise might not have met. So I appreciate that as well.
Marwa, is there anything you'd like to add?
I would just also top what the two ladies have mentioned, that this is such a wonderful new platform to also celebrate creativity, which is much needed in the world today. I think every time we go in a circle and we say technology is going to take over, innovation is going to take over, AI is going to take over, we circle back to creativity when it comes to problem solving. So apart from the fact that it's very unique to invite a female-only jury, it is also very important to keep opening doors to celebrate creativity and its turn in making an impact in the world. And that's what I love the most.
Building on the excitement that you guys have just put together from the jury session from last week, can you give us a little bit of insight on the cut of entries this year? Would like to start. Mary Claire, can you take this one?
Yeah, okay. So I mean, the more and more I'm judging in award shows, it's clear that the creative landscape is shifting towards meaningful and impactful narrative. So we're seeing more and more work that is here to solve societal problems, to solve environmental problems. And it's really exciting to witness that there's that shift of consciousness in the industry and also from audience. So particularly this year, there's a lot of work that had AI and tech in it, but done in a purposeful way. So not just using the buzzword and saying that we've done AI and we've done an immersive experience just as an additional augmented experience for audience, but really to raise gender awareness, for example, and challenge perception, particularly, for example, like the work that was done for women's football. We're going to talk about it, I think, a lot this one.
Discussion,
yeah. And then also to raise the data privacy issues with the work such as Without a Consent, a message from Ella. I mean, yeah, this for me, it's truly like more purposeful work and work that is not only a say, but has a do with it. So a brand that is in action, doing something for societies, as opposed to only saying that they stand by something.
Yeah, I totally agree with this. And I think also this is coming with a trend. Actually, I saw an interesting statistic like last week about in Brazil, for example, they say that people trust brands more than they trust the government or NGOs. And I find this to be mind-blowing because like you can see even like people, the creatives that come from Brazil when they come to Dubai, you can feel that they have this like fire, this passion. And I know why now because and I think this is becoming a trend globally, not just in Brazil. People are trusting less and less their own governments and their NGOs, and sometimes brands have so much power these days, so much money. I mean, not enough for advertising spending all the time, but with this power comes great responsibility, and I'm seeing that this is only growing and evolving on a global scale. So this is why we're seeing more and more purpose-driven work, and it's a very exciting time. We thought that purpose-driven work would actually be on a decline. We thought it would be more humor, like because there's all these philosophies now about like advertising should be more about humor and fun and entertainment, and maybe there will be a decline in purpose. But I'm happy to see that both are equally distributed globally.
Can I weigh in on this a bit? So I agree with you on the action, and I want to just highlight, like for example, a motto or a mantra that we stand by, we stand for at Edelman is action earns trust, and trust earns action. And there's that tool that we use, which is the trust barometer. So effectively, people are not really trusting. In today's, I'm not going to enter into the details, but have a lack of trust with everything around them. And when they see an action that is done truthfully and authentically from a brand, the higher chances are for them to connect and for that brand to earn their trust back. And in terms of fun versus purpose, I think they can come together, like sharing a joy, sharing laughter, sharing a moment of lightheartedness with people through work can also be purposeful. So I don't think purpose comes with seriousness, but it needs to come to solve people's problem or add value to their life, change something, shift something for the better.
Yeah. Is there something you'd like to add to that, Marwa?
Yes, of course. I mean, as the person over here who is on the client side, I think we have seen a lot of bravery on behalf of the brands in very competing sectors to really finally craft messages that are away from the product and the value proposition. I mean, it was just so wonderful to see how brands were dropping their logos, cropping their logos, changing their logos. And some campaigns, they were not including their logos at all. They made people the hero of their message. and that's very big. And I think what is very, very interesting to see, despite the past 2 years being highly accelerated years when it comes to AI, we don't see any fakeness in the crafting of the messages. The messages remain raw, natural, real, human-centric, people-centric, simple dialogue. So I think it was just wonderful to see that. And I think these type of campaigns are changing the marketing game. So as a marketeer, if you look at the fundamental 4 Ps, you don't see the 4 Ps in those messages. You don't see promotion, place, price, product. You see social impact, you see community, you see environmental impact. And I think that's really, really positive.
I think when it comes to the consumer base, it's fair to say that cynicism is increasing. At the end of the day, we are cynical as humans, and that is just, it's really dominating human nature at this point because there's so much content out there. Um, Shifting the conversation to back to Gerety, and understanding where the Middle East stands, how do you think the region has been progressing in representing itself on the global stage? Where do you think the Middle East is lacking in terms of bringing that work that it can bring to its potential? Or is it doing a good job at it? Is this something that you can provide insights on, Mary Claire?
I mean, we've seen since few years the rise of the region on global stages more and more. Like a few years back, we were maybe at number 10, UAE ranked in the top award shows. I'm not sure what's the ranking this year, but I mean, we've seen also local brands such as Nahar being top ranked in international shows. So also work coming out from Saudi, top ranked, winning the Grand Prix. So I feel we are playing there. Even individuals recognized as top ranked creative in different craft and expertise between the CCOs, the ECDs, the creative directors, designers, top ranked. So I feel we are, I mean, playing it well. And I think it's gonna get even better year on year.
Marva, from a brand perspective, what do you think? Where does the Middle East stand at the global stage?
Yeah, I really think a lot of the Middle East brands are catching up with the game, especially when it comes to social impacts. When we talk about Middle East brands embracing sustainability, we see wonderful examples here, especially in the United Arab Emirates. I had 18 global brands in Abu Dhabi, and Abu Dhabi brands have been really, really active when we talk sustainability, and there are some pretty amazing sustainable brands out there. So I think the Middle East is on the right track with the means that we have and the much smaller market shares and market sizes that we have. I think we're doing a pretty good job. And like MC said, we have some very beautiful creative campaigns that also, come up every now and then as well.
Rita, is there something you'd like to add to that?
Um, I think from the region also, you have markets like, Lebanon, for example, where there are so many issues that need to potentially be solved. So I feel like there's a lot of like fertile ground in MENA when it comes to these sorts of campaigns. And I think something that we all need to remember, all of us as creatives in not only in the region but globally, is we want to ensure that the campaigns we do actually have positive impact and are, create tangible, real results that, make people's lives better. So, sometimes we need to ensure that we're never exploiting any certain situation. We're always actually trying to help and solve and give a sustainable solution. So this is something that everyone, all of us, we need to keep reminding ourselves, and it'll allow us to not just, to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. And I think this is something that globally we need to do.
And Rita, can you give us some insight into the Gerety jury room? What's the judging process like? Do you think that it's different from all the other award shows that you've been a part of? If so, in what way?
So what I liked about the process was I felt it was very organic. It was very, open talks, open conversations, it was more driven by feeling, by intuition. Like, what did you guys think about this? How did you feel about this case study? Rather than, very structured. And, it was more, it allowed people to chime in whenever they wanted to. It allowed even some side conversations to happen. And sometimes from those side conversations, you get a new insight or a new, oh, what about this campaign? Let's talk about this campaign. So I liked how organic and open it was. Yeah, that's my perspective.
What about you, ladies? Mary Claire, I think this is your which year judging the Gerety, and I think this time you were also hosting in the jury
Yeah,
room.
so we
What
were
was that
hosting it
like?
at our offices at Edelman. I felt like I was having a big morning breakfast with the ladies, honestly. So we had our nice breakfast, healthy options, and coffee, tea, juices. So I don't know. It felt more like I totally echo what Rita said. Um, it was a very nice discussion that was flowing as opposed to question and answer and rating and what do you think about the idea? What do you think about the strategy? What do you think about the results? So it wasn't really structured in that manner, but it's more like maybe a show of hand for which work is resonating and why is it resonating? How does it solve for people? And do we like it? Do we want it to go forward, etc.? So yeah, a very good morning chat.
I mean, I wish I would be able to attend, but this sounds very interesting. It sounds like a typical high tea that was hosted at Edelman offices. And I'm so glad that you guys got to be a part of it. Marwa, my next question is to you. In your opinion, what power do you think does a woman juror hold? Why do you think it's so crucial to have gender proportionate juries in award shows like this?
I mean, I think, an all-woman jury holds as much power as any other, and I think this is what makes it special. There is a parity element to it. And I think what's important is that the focus is on the work. The focus is basically on, getting more work from the industry recognized. And I believe that, it's just maybe a good proof that the thinking is alike, that judging creative work really doesn't have a major difference when it comes to gender in general. It also is a good opportunity to create some encouragement for the women in the industry to get some recognition at the same time. I mean, the creative industry is very demanding. It's very difficult on women. We all know that. We all know that married women with children even have more responsibilities and feel like they want to, break through that glass ceiling when it comes to the creative industry. So this is one of those platforms that facilitates more gender parity practices in the industry in general.
And I think what makes Gerety so special is its focus on having an entire women jury. What about you, ladies? Is there something that you'd like to weigh in on that?
In my view, and I totally agree with Marwa, I want more of this from Gerety. Like, what else can we do when we have all of these women in one room? What else can they do? Like now we have a beautiful group on WhatsApp. We're chatting. Is there something that we can do as I don't know, mentorship, something that could be hosted by Gerety that goes beyond just the jury? Because I felt that there's so many richness in that room that needs to go out. Beautiful brains coming together to discuss work. Yes, we can. Sure, I love that we're sharing now some glimpse on a live YouTube. But what else? How can we inspire the next generation of women? How can maybe invite them to be part of this in some sort through any program? It's open for discussion. It's a brainstorming. I just
Yes.
popped in my head.
completely
I
agree.
mean,
Yeah,
I
completely
I want
agree.
to add to this. I think one of the things I love the most about some of the entries is climate activism. And I always have said that I find it so unfair that the young generation, the Gen Zs and even the Gen Alphas today are the ones who talk about climate activism, but they're not the ones who ruined this planet. It was us. And they're more concerned about its welfare than we do. And I think a lot of the entries we saw on Gerety spoke about climate activism, which means brands are finally taking up the responsibility to basically take on this narrative. And this narrative is going to cascade to the older and mature audiences like ourselves to really help on this front. So this is one of the things that I think we can do. We take off the load and the heavy burden of certain things like climate activism off the shoulders of the younger ones who are really concerned about it.
And by essentially what Mekla said, bringing them and making them a part of this conversation,
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
very, very important. Rita, is there something you'd like to add to that?
I would say I can't wait for the day where this won't be a question anymore. You know, like people won't ask like what difference does it make if you're a woman or a man or female, male juror, whatever. I feel like we need to get to a point where it's no longer a question. It's no longer a point of differentiation. It's just you're a creative professional. You know what you're doing. I want your perspective. So this is the world I want to live in.
Absolutely. And I think we are all looking forward to that day. Um, Building on to that, Mary Claire, do you think that the Middle East is doing justice to this argument that we're having in this point? Are Middle Eastern award shows representing women professionals enough through all of their phases?
I would say when it comes to award shows and jury representation, yes, and specifically in the UAE, which itself is a melting pot.
Yeah.
So the people that we see coming together in a jury room are a beautiful mix of different backgrounds, of different cultural backgrounds. So gender representation for sure. So it's a melting pot, to be honest. But what I want to see more of is in the creative industry and the marketing industry, communication at large, more women in leadership positions still, and more female voices in decision making, and women really crossing that bridge and leaning in to be in those positions. So I think people are ready, the industry is ready. My question is, are all women ready to take that step forward and claim it for themselves and stand for who they are?
Absolutely. Anything you'd like to add to that, Marva?
No, I just loved what I would second what MC said. I wouldn't be able to top that up.
I think I want to move on to the next question. I think this is the most awaited question amongst all audiences that are following Gerety. Your favorite cases from this year's of cut of entries. Which ones would they be? Which ones stood out for you, ladies? Who'd like to start?
I'm happy to start. It would be very hard to reference one only. A lot of them were just, pure genius. The Wii football, which is the women's football, was amazing. And then to me, there was the awareness campaign on gaming. This is not a game. It's really hit the spot for me as a parent to understand that there is so much of darkness that happens in the gaming world, and this is highly unregulated and left to the hands of the kids. I thought the execution and the production was quite reflective of a bigger issue that we hear of today, which is some of the kids that game a lot cannot differentiate between reality and the gaming world. And then there's just plenty of others. Motherhood was a beautiful chaos, was also a beautiful campaign from Mexico. Brought me to tears for sure.
What about you, Rita? Any favorites from this year?
I think Marwa covered the highlights for sure. And one that stands out, and if we want to look at it through a humor perspective, they were quite, there were some really good ones. There was one called Museum Worthy. I think it was an agency piece, and it was basically showing like if Frida Kahlo and Vincent van Gogh were creatives in today's world, or they had to answer to client servicing and client requests, what would the outcome be? And I think the level and the attention to detail and craft in this film is really like it's crazy. And yeah, everyone loved watching it. When we watched it once more at the in the jury room, it was so much fun. So that's one. Yeah, that's it.
What about you, Mary Claire? I'm sure you have a lot more that you'd
Yeah,
like
I
to
mean,
cover.
honestly, like women's football for sure. So these are the type of work that use AI, but with a purpose, whether it's women football or a message from Ella. So showcasing the harm that when parents maybe post their kids' photos and videos online that could be putting them at risk. Um, and yeah, so this one was very strong. The way that AI was used and the transformation that we saw, like that old daughter, that older daughter speaking to her parents in that theater, it was very much goosebumpy as a piece. And we've seen it before it reached the show. So I personally shared it with my family, with people I care for, to understand the harms of sharing kids' photos online. Um, I also loved the craft behind audio craft of This Is Not a Game. For me, it's an impeccable piece, fantastic, fit for purpose as well in terms of audio. And my Japan Railway, beautiful crafted stamps that you can collect when going on a ride in the train. What else? I mean, a lot, but I think my top favorite this year was the women's football. Um, yeah, it was just genius the way they've done it, and and I feel it could really be an educational tool. And they mentioned as well in their case study, so you could really show it in uh, in in schools to shift perception around women playing football.
Absolutely. So glad to be hearing that there is this such extensive amount of work coming from across the markets and just diving into the trends that you guys have witnessed from the entire cut of entries this year. What trends did you capture best? And which trends do you think that brands and agencies have done justice to? Like Mary Claire earlier mentioned on in our discussion that there were a lot of brands who actually did justice to using AI the way that it's supposed to be used rather than just jumping on the bandwagon. Marva, can you give us a little bit of insight on this?
Yes, I think one of the overarching trends was the use of empathy in the narrative. And it's amazing to see how brands are adopting, an empathetic approach when it comes to crafting their messages. Uh, just a week ago, the New Yorker published an article with a very show-stopping headline saying, "We are the loneliest generations there's ever been." And loneliness was really topping a lot of, the messaging and the campaigns that we have seen. Now, when it comes to sustainability, I loved how we're moving away from greenwashing and moving away from let's just scratch the surface to messages where we are responsible and what we have today is not enough to save us. I think the Hyundai campaign where they featured, the aftermath of the floods and how cars get destroyed completely with floods and explaining that none of the features that they have in their cars is going to save the world is very interesting. Brands calling for carbon neutrality, calling for, stopping emissions was amazing. So again, with sustainability, there's a move to taking responsibility and action versus just, green is nice and fluffy. And then there's empathy interweaved in a lot of the campaigns that we saw. Yes, so I think these were overarching themes. And I actually want to say AI was not there as a theme to me, not embracing AI, not embracing the fake side of AI, like AI generated images, videos, narratives, voiceover, and music meant a lot to me because, we're not going to outsource this part of the craft to machines.
Any other trends, Mary Claire and Rita, you want to take account of in this discussion?
There was a lot on women as well, women
Yeah,
empowerment.
women empowerment. I just have the list in
Yeah.
front of me. A lot of women empowerment. And also how AI could solve human problem. Like for example, when they did the Hyundai gets its driver license, so it would be empowering people who cannot see, for example, to drive. So again, like AI that serves humanity, tech that serves humanity.
Yeah.
What else?
I'm
I
sure
think
there
there's
were quite
a
a
lot
few.
yeah. Electrification, again, in mobility is very big, and it's important for people to address concerns around electrification. So there were quite a few commercials where they openly put to the table what it means to drive an electric vehicle and address all of the customer worries that come with it. I think there was a beautiful Opel campaign around it.
And I think one trend that you guys have covered through this discussion is also purpose-driven marketing. I think that's something that we've been seeing over the years, and the importance has just elevated, especially this year. Um, I think I want to wrap up this discussion around trends because we can go on forever around this and move on to the final and last question of this discussion. Um, on a personal note, what is your advice to aspiring young women who are aiming to make it in this industry, aiming to make it at a position that maybe you are today? What is your advice to them? I'd like to start with Rita.
I would say sometimes it's important to park the fact that you're a woman because, you know, I don't believe it should take too much of your of headspace. It should be more like your thoughts need to take up your headspace, like your ideas, your solutions. And I do believe that, we have this superpower of intuition. And with this intuition, you can decide, you can quickly understand, is this the right environment for me? Because you will only grow as much as your environment allows you to. So the second you enter a new agency, whether you're an intern, whether you're a junior, you need to kind of gauge and use your intuition, which we all, women, we know we have this power, and we figure out, like, is this the right place for me to work? Do I feel like I have the support I need? Do I have the people I want to learn from? And you can make this decision like probably within the first month or two, and just make sure that that's the right place for you, because environment is everything, and you have to have this kind of peace of mind of, I'm surrounded by people who want to see me grow, and they will enable me to grow, and I will be allowed to be my best possible self. So I would say, yeah, just use your intuition to navigate through the industry, because it's a superpower that we have.
Listen to your gut. I think that's the best way to phrase it. What about you, Marwa?
So I've worked in creative for close to 14 years, and since then I've been on the client side for another 10 or 11. And I actually have two things to share. First is believe you can make it. Not believe in yourself, not that cheesy kind of talk. Believe that you can make it by hook or by crook, with trial and error, with, persistence. You can make it. If you believe you can make it, you will make it. Another very important point, and this is specific for women and women who decide to start families, you will plateau because other priorities will take, front row seat. and that's okay. So just don't compare your career progression to a male counterpart. They go on a spike. It's a straight line tangent. For women, we sometimes plateau, and then we go up again. So please take your time and just don't compare. Don't compare.
What about you, Mary Claire?
I love the insights I'm learning.
Yeah, words of wisdom.
For me, I want also to give for anyone entering the field, regardless of their gender, is to always be curious and keep asking questions. I felt that this was my key to progress in everything. Curious. I will keep saying it. Ask why, like the 7 whys. Even when you receive a brief, don't settle for what you receive, but not just for the sake of asking why. Like read it first, see if it makes sense, but ask the why. Why does it matter for people if I solve this particular problem that is stated in the brief? How does it add value to their life? And then when you have your idea, be fearless in pursuing it. And for you to really like push through and learn, I would echo what Rita said, like spot people that could help you do so. And I would call them mentors, allies. They don't need to be women, and they can be like mentors come sometimes for a reason, sometimes for a season, sometimes for a lifetime. But you can have many mentors depending on the area that where you want to grow. But find those mentors, find those experts that you can ask questions and see how you can push your craft, push your ideas, and then what else, and get inspired from them. Always surround yourself with people that are at a higher energy from you, so you can learn, and they can also challenge you to push your own boundaries. Yeah, that's my point.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot to gather from that. Like I said, words of wisdom, and I hope that our audience also feels that way. Thank you so much, ladies, for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Gerety Awards. It's time for us to bid goodbye.